I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championships.
The rivalries, it's up there on top of the list, man. And if we allow them to devalue it, we lose a lot of what makes college football special. Don't let them do it. Don't let them devalue what it means to you. And welcome and appreciate you so much for joining me today. It's your friend JUCK. Please like the video today. Let's go ahead and get that right out of the way before we get into the business. And the business starts with Jackson Cantwell. Jackson Cantwell, the number one recruit in the country. Tyler Bowen, Ohio State's offensive line coach, did a pretty good job getting Ohio State in on this. They weren't at all until he came aboard, and he got him in on it, got down to the final five. So the Buckeyes were in there, and then he just kind of started wiping guys off his list. And in the end, it was Oregon got wiped off last, and it was just two lone survivors, Georgia and Miami. And the Georgia crew was feeling very, very confident about this up until the very end. In fact, Adam Gorney, a reporter for Rivals, said he was talking to a source from Georgia who said right before the decision, the source found out that it was going to be Miami. And he said, I don't know what happened. He had just been at Georgia, which was his sixth visit to Georgia. And apparently it was a done deal. He doesn't know what happened. I know what happened. You know what happened.
And making sure them to be fairly compensated.
And of course, college football fans don't like this. Called the kid all sorts of names. Doesn't care about winning or development. Bag chaser. The kid had Drew Rosenhaus as his agent. Drew Rosenhaus, repping a high school kid. This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I hate the new system. I do. I want a level playing field. However, in a level playing field or in the old system, Georgia gets the guy. Georgia gets the guy to go along with the number one quarterback that they got and the number one linebacker that they'll probably get and the number one defensive end that they'll probably get. 7 years ago, it would have been Alabama getting all those same guys. If anything, this has probably leveled the playing field more. At least this way, the end result isn't the powerhouse in the SEC gets every number one guy. But boy, is Miami getting crapped on, man. Miami's being talked about like it's USF. I get it. It's not on the level of Georgia. I just have a different view. Like if I'm 18 years old, there are some things I find pretty appealing about Miami if I'm an offensive lineman. Number one, Mario Cristobal was an offensive lineman at Miami. Whenever you're the position player and the head coach played that position, that's a little more appealing, especially if you're an offensive lineman. You feel underappreciated as it is. Not if the head coach was an O-lineman. They also got a really respected offensive line coach in Alex Mirabel. The campus is gorgeous in Coral Gables. I don't want to play in the ACC, but the thing that would wipe Miami off the list for me is playing in an NFL stadium in front of 40,000 people. I don't know how you can feel like a big-time college football player and sign up for that. I just don't. That's the most confusing to me. But we did see Ben Congdon out of Tuscarawas here in Ohio commit to Miami. He's going down there to play for all the reasons I just listed. Nice campus, obviously great weather, and Mario Cristobal. People believe in him. I'll tell you what, man, Miami doesn't give up. They keep throwing the money around, don't they? They just keep throwing money at the problem. But I was thinking, as we enter into revenue sharing next year, could this be the last of the massive pay-for-play deals that we see? I mean, it's a chance, right? You've got the $22 million in revenue sharing. Only 14 can be used on football. And then everything else is going to go to the clearinghouse for true NIL deals is what we're trying to get to. True NIL deals. So if I am a student athlete and I sign a deal with the car dealership, I got to prove, or if it's over $600, I got to submit it. They're going to run the numbers and say, okay, for this amount of, appearances with this car dealership, this should be in the price range of $10,000 to $20,000. And I said, well, they're paying me $62,000. And they're going to tell me, well, you can only take 20 or you're going to be ineligible. And then I'm going to take them to court. And that first court case, the first kid that takes them to court is going to determine if this stands or not. If it gets shot down, we're back to square one. If it gets held up, if it's upheld, like we're in business. We actually got a system where we're going to have to see these teams now budget the same amount of money. Now, bigger schools are obviously you're going to be able to make more in NIL, so that's more appealing from a money standpoint. But everybody's going to be working off the same budget, and then it's going to be really interesting. How much are you going to offer that kid out of high school? Now, we're still going to see idiots go way overboard with their budget, but the smart ones are going to be holding back, retaining guys from keeping them from going to the NFL and holding money for the transfer portal guys. Like that's kind of going to be the system I think we're going to see the smart teams go with. But you'll still have the Miamis, the boneheads of the world, throwing money to kids out of high school. I'm most interested in seeing guys like, let's say, for instance, top 100 player Jermaine Kinsler out of Bergen Catholic. We just got Jordan Thomas. Jordan Thomas's teammate. So Jermaine Kinsler, a kid that the Buckeyes were in on before Jordan Thomas, actually, and then got on to Jordan. So he's a defensive lineman. Bucks were in on him, making some progress. Texas A&M was not in on him. Texas A&M met him, and it seemed like the next week the kid committed to Texas A&M. Now that's a top, 150 kid, right? It's those kind of deals and those kind of players. I think we're going to see a massive change. Like we're not going to see those kind of guys get bought off. I think the 5-star guys, we're still going to see teams go overboard and overextend themselves because they're going to get so excited that they're in on one of those guys. Not to mention, we also got to factor in those kind of guys, those kind of recruitments really excite a fan base, and you can generate a lot of buzz by landing one of those guys. So they're actually worth a little more money than they are as a player because that stuff is worth money. Money comes with that too. The Buckeyes do not break the bank for these top level offensive linemen. And some people get irritated by that. I'm not at all. I think when we look at positional value, when we look at the positions that are actually worth huge dollars, we look at how much is a great left tackle worth compared to a really good left tackle? How much is a great quarterback worth compared to a really good quarterback, or a great wide receiver versus a really good wide receiver? And when I look at a left tackle, I'm more concerned with having a great unit than one single great left tackle. You look at Josh Fryer last year. That is a average right tackle on a national championship team because he was part of a great unit. And he didn't give up many sacks. He didn't give up a ton of pressures. He was pretty doggone solid. And he's just an average right tackle. You look at these guys that go first in the draft versus a left tackle that goes first overall versus a guy that goes in the 5th round. The difference to that college football team that those two guys played on, it's not much on the scoreboard. Now, you look at quarterbacks, a number 1 overall quarterback versus a 6th round quarterback, that's a huge difference on the scoreboard. I could say the same for wide receivers too. I think that's a big difference on the scoreboard. I don't think that there's that much of a difference when we talk about a very good left tackle versus that number 1 overall kid, because the competition on the other end of the field, that defensive end, getting the pressures, trying to sack the quarterback, I think that those number 1 overall guys are so far superior to those dudes that you just lose out on that top end talent. It's not getting you as much. So I'm going to go with the very good one. I'm going to go with the strategy that we're seeing Ohio State employ right now. I'm going to go with give me Sam Greer and let me go get a couple of those caliber guys. Let me fill in with a couple more projects on top of that. I think it's the way better play than going and blowing all this money on the number 1 tackle in the country. I just don't like it as a philosophy. I think it's bad unless you're dealing with unlimited funds. And, apparently Oregon's not, because they did not outbid Miami on this. And they were in there in the top 3. But we talked about this beforehand, and I wanted this kid to go to Georgia. I wanted him to go to Georgia because Georgia is already paying max deal numbers for Jared Curtis. Jackson Cantwell would have been another max deal. And then they're also in on Mark Bowman, the number 1 tight end out of Mater Dei. And I have heard that they are going to pay max deal for him. They really love him. They think he can be the next superstar tight end at Georgia. And now Cantwell is off the board, which means it frees them up to give more money to Atkinson, which is not great. And I still feel good about the Buckeyes' chances with Atkinson, but I felt better if they would have gotten Jackson Cantwell. Now, the networks that air our college football games, some of the assignments or the draft, they choose these games if you have a deal with the conference. If NBC and Fox and CBS, who all have certain rights to the Big Ten, they've all paid for deals with the Big Ten. They have some kind of goofy, wonky draft for who gets to air what game, et cetera. And I've never really read into it too much because it's just not super interesting to me. When it comes out, then I just critique it. But last night, Joel Klatt tweeted that he cannot wait for the Ohio State-Texas game. Fox Sports had originally announced that game would be on Big Noon, and then that line in that article got erased. So what is it? Is it a Big Noon game or not? The Joel Klatt thing, I think, might have been just to maybe rib Ohio State fans because it's been kind of a public back and forth. But as you can imagine, the comment section underneath his tweet, let's just say it made me proud to be a Buckeye. I think he was trolling us a little bit. But every time we talk about this topic, I get comments from a lot of you who say, I like noon games. And I totally understand that. But the majority of the comments are rage against Fox for Big Noon. I personally love Big Noon. As a college football fan, my Saturdays for a very long time now have consisted of noon games, 3:30 games, evening games, and then the nightcap. Hopefully there's a good one. And my family and my friends, they know that I won't be participating in anything. They know not to ask. I don't care if it's Halloween. I don't care what it is. Don't ask. I'm busy. And I used to wait all morning, watch game day or whatever I was into, and the 12 o'clock game would roll around. In the 12 slot, the whole slot would be pretty dry. It might have one good game, but usually it was a bunch of Wake Forest versus NC States. And all the good games would cluster in prime time. And a lot of the Buckeye games would be in prime time, which meant we missed all the other good games. So what Big Noon did was it allowed us to see one of those big matchups at noon and spread out some of that inventory, so to speak. So on the surface, when we look at Big Noon, it's been good for college football from the viewer, from the fan's point of view, unless you're a Buckeye fan, in which case they have shouldered this massive deal that they made with the Big Ten onto Ohio State. Ohio State has been carrying this whole deal between Fox and the Big Ten. All the Big Ten schools are making the money off of it. Ohio State gets saddled with the time slot. And I understand it from Fox's point of view. You can't put the West Coast teams on Big Noon when they're at home because it's 9 o'clock for Oregon or Washington or SC when they're at home, which leaves you, well, if Michigan's having a down year and Penn State's good and Ohio State's good, last year, for instance, it's Ohio State and Penn State every week. And if maybe Michigan's up and Penn State's down, it's Ohio State and Michigan. If you get an Indiana that pops up, you're going to put them on a couple times if Ohio State or Michigan don't have a more appealing matchup. But we all know who brings the eyeballs. It's Ohio State, it's Michigan, then it's Penn State. And they're going to keep on saddling those three schools with this time slot. And even if you are someone who likes the noon games, you can't deny that the atmosphere in the evening is so much better for big games. It's just electric. It's totally different. I can't tell you that Tennessee game will just forever stand out to me. And it's because I hadn't been to a night game since I think Nebraska, maybe 3 years ago. Just how different it is at night in the shoe. I mean, you can see it on TV, but it really is disturbing when you look at the schedule next year, and there is an honest chance that we may not have a single night game in the shoe. And to have this go on in consecutive years, did we have a night game last year at the shoe? It might have been, but if it did, it was a crappy opponent. It's the big games. It's the big games we win a night game. And next year, who do we got? We've got Texas coming in. We've got Penn State coming in. One of those has got to be at night. I'm looking at these lists now, talking about the most intimidating places to play, the best college advantages, the best stadiums. And the shoe used to constantly be up under Urban at the top of those lists. Whether it was true or not, up for debate. But the shoe was always up there. It's not anymore. And I think a big reason is because of the lack of night games. We had a ton under Urban, and he loved them. They were great for recruiting, and of course they are. Not only does it give those kids a chance to travel, they played Friday night. They need an opportunity to travel to the game. If you're playing at noon, that's quite a hindrance, especially if it's a West Coast kid. And the atmosphere, if I'm a recruit and I'm going to Ohio State for a noon game, Ohio State, Iowa, and then that evening I fly down and go to a night game at Georgia or Alabama, it's totally different. It might as well be a different sport I just watched. And it's selling us short. It's selling us short. And it's not Fox's fault. This is the fault of the Big Ten, and particularly Ohio State, for either one, not having the foresight to see this as a potential issue, or they saw it and didn't care. The Big Ten and Ohio State approved this deal and signed off. So what do we do now? I don't hate noon games. I like a variety. Sometimes I enjoy noon games, especially if it's a crappy opponent. I want the Ohio State game at noon, so now I can focus on the other games that I need to watch, not need to, that I want to watch in the evening, because the Ohio State game is not one that I want in prime time when they're playing Central Michigan, right? Like, I don't want that crappy game in the evening. I want that at noon. But big time opponents should always be at 3:30 or at night. 3:30 late in the year so that we can see the second half under the lights. Texas is in the beginning of the year. Texas at 3:30 does nothing for me. I want it dark out. But it certainly would be pretty cool if we could get Texas at night. Well, we know that Ross Bjork has talked about the atmosphere at the stadium and wanting to improve it. Last year at the Tennessee game, the new LED lights were popping, and it was awesome. It changed the atmosphere inside the stadium, in my opinion, quite a bit. They had drones flying up and, spelling out things in the sky. It was so cool. And I think we're going to see that now at every night game. So that's going to be awesome. I wish that we had the white lights, LED. They're the old style, so it takes them a while to warm up. But, at a lot of the stadiums now, they're LEDs, and they can turn them off and turn them on when there's a touchdown, which is really awesome too. I would have loved to have seen that. So maybe they'll make that change as well. But he's trying all these ways to make the stadium better. None of them matter in that aspect if you can't have night games at the stadium. 11 Warriors broke down what they think their prediction is for the game times this year. Week 1, Texas, they've got it at noon. Grambling at home, 3:30. Ohio at home, 3:30. At Washington at 7:30. First night game away at one of the toughest places to play at night. Minnesota at home, noon. At Illinois, noon. At Wisconsin, 3:30. Penn State at home, they predict a 7:30 kick. Purdue, noon. UCLA, noon. So they predict Penn State at 7:30. Now, the guys over at Blue and White, Penn State's 11 Warriors, they predict that game to be at noon. So depending on who's right here, we either have 1 or 0 night games, and not having a single one in an entire season is just absurd to me. If 11 Warriors is correct, we'll have Penn State. And honestly, I would take Penn State in November over the Texas game. I would, for sure. Like, that one's going to have huge stakes, whereas the Texas one, not nearly as much, though it would be way better at night. I'd prefer them both. But if I could only pick one, I'm taking Penn State. Curious to know what you guys would pick. Maybe Texas for the uniqueness of it. I can understand if that's your point of view. But the biggest question for me is anybody working on our behalf to try to change this? Is anybody, can they find any possible leverage? I've got a source that says Ross Bjork is working on this. He doesn't want this to be at noon. He wants them to flex this to an evening game. And why wouldn't they want to broadcast the game in the evening is a question I see a lot. You get a bigger number. It's because the whole big noon thing is their branding. It's they want to own that time slot. And Ohio State helps them with that branding. Does Ohio State have any leverage in any kind of negotiation to get them to change this? The only leverage I can see is maybe the leverage of threatening to be a real pain in the butt on the next go round of deals. But for this particular deal, I don't think they have any leverage at all. But Ross Bjork is trying. So we'll see what happens. I think there's a reason that article on Fox Sports originally said that was a night game, and then poof, that line was gone. Like, there's got to be something to that. So we'll see. But if this thing ends up being at night, Ross Bjork will officially be out of the JUCK on Bucks doghouse for putting that $20 million figure out there. He'll be out of it. He'll almost be out of it. He's got to get us our gray sleeves back first. That's what he can do to totally get out of it. Hey, I got a new shirt. I know you guys are going to ask. You always ask. GV Art and Design. I'll put the link in the comments. These guys should sponsor me. Matter of fact, all these t-shirt companies should sponsor me as much as I'm giving out the information for them. But this one's a GV Art. Really comfortable. Obviously a great shirt. Really nicely printed. Doesn't feel like a big piece of plastic, which is a big thing for me. When you get a shirt like this, it can't feel like a big piece of plastic. So really slick shirt. So we talked about the 12 most wanted men, right? And I want to go over now the best of the rest, which is in some cases, we're talking about like 5-star dudes, but my selections weren't always the highest rated guy on the board. Like sometimes, for instance, Jameer Perez was on my list. Jameer Perez is a 3-star defensive tackle, but he's a body type that we don't have, that I really want in that defensive line room. At 6'4", 350 pounds right now, he'll play college football at 330, but that's a dude we want. We want that guy in the middle of the defensive line. And there's really nobody else like him right now on the board. So for me, he made my list of the 12 most wanted. But let's go over the best of the rest. We'll start with safety. And at safety, currently you got Simeon Caldwell, you got Blaine Bradford in the class. I had Braylon Womack on my list. Donovan Webb is another prospect that Ohio State is in close contact with. I love him. 4-star, maybe 350th ranked in the country, out of Texas. He's a great athlete. He's big, 6 foot, 185. Ohio State and Matt Guerrieri, the first big school who got in on him. At the time, he had like TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, and he was a TCU lean. And then after Ohio State got in on him, Michigan came calling, then Texas offered. And now that Texas is offered, it's like, okay, we'll see where this goes. And will he make a decision before Braylon Womack? Obviously, the Buckeyes would love to have a guy like Joey O'Brien or Jet Washington or Jyree Edwards, 3 guys we've talked about that are very highly rated throughout the process. I think the ship has sailed for Ohio State on all 3 of those guys. But Donovan Webb seems like a likely guy. I know he loves Ohio State. I've talked to him about Ohio State. Really, really loves it. Really enamored with it. And should they not land Braylon Womack, he's definitely in the mix, though not as much as he was before Texas offered. At corner, we obviously got Jordan Thomas on our list, and now we've got Jordan Thomas in the class. Jordan Thomas joins Jacob Weatherspoon as the 2 cornerbacks in the class. Buckeyes will still obviously keep going hard after Justice Fitzpatrick, who is Minkah Fitzpatrick's little brother, and he's out of St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale. Great instincts, ball hawk, lays the wood, really quick in small spaces, about 6 foot 1.5. So he's a big, tall kid, 185 pounds, top 100 overall, and he would be tops on the list. And then you have Nasir McCoy, who's now going by NASCAR McCoy, 6'2", 180, out of Buford High School, 4-star, top 300 prospect, who Ohio State's had a long relationship with. And this was at kind of a lull for a long time. I don't know that it's picked up a ton right now, but there's no doubt Justice Fitzpatrick is the number 1 guy now on that board for Tim Walton. At linebacker, I had 2 linebackers on my top 12 most wanted men. And that's Sincere Johnson out of Glenville, Tyler Atkinson out of Georgia, Grayson High School in Georgia. Another guy who would be on the best of the rest would be Jacob Eberhardt out of Missouri, who is a guy that's a pretty dynamic athlete at 6'3", 200. We watched this film. He's all over the field. The guy plays every position. Like he's a receiver. He's a running back. He was a safety. He was a linebacker. But he's a linebacker in college, and he is got some really big offers despite not being very highly ranked. But after him, it's kind of slim pickings for the other guys, as the guys that Laurinaitis was in on early. They're all committed elsewhere, and there's not really much left on the board. So it becomes pretty important that, well, he's got to land at least one of them. And I think he will. I think Sincere is definitely going to be a Buckeye. But further past Eberhardt, you can look at Jaden Roper, who's a guy that Ohio State, really his only big offer. He's out of Chaminade Madonna, which is obviously Jeremiah Smith's school and a school you want to be close to. Only rated by one service. I don't think there's much momentum with him at all, but he's there if you really want, somebody at the very end of the class. Should you miss out on Atkinson and Sincere, I think you probably flip somebody or at least try really hard. There's also CJ Sibley out of Buford High School, and 6'1", 185, not yet rated, but got some big offers, LSU, Georgia, Michigan. So some big time offers. A little puzzling as to why he's not rated yet, but he's also a potential option. But all the eggs are in the basket of Sincere Johnson and Tyler Atkinson. Jacob Eberhardt would be the third in line there. On the defensive line, obviously there are no defensive line commitments. And on the top 12 list, because of that, we had 5 defensive linemen with PJ Dean, Deuce Geralds, Luke Waffle, Carter Meadows, JJ Perez. The Buckeyes and Larry Johnson just went and saw Damari Simeon. He is the number 2 player in New Jersey. We watched his film here. We loved his film. He is 6'3", 275, really quick, really looks to love football. Dude's a grinder, 4-star, top 200 overall, and not getting talked about much, but I think there's some momentum there. Then you got Carter Lucky, who's out of Georgia, big dude in the middle, 6'5", 280. His dad is one of 3 triplets. Obviously, they're triplets. One of 3 triplets, and all 3 of them played at Georgia. They're the Lucky twins. Found this out from my buddy Stuart on Twitter. He's one of our dog fans who watches Juck on Bucks every day, which is strange, but hey, we love everybody from all fan bases. But yeah, he's a son of triplets that played at Georgia, also has an older brother currently at Georgia. But hey, if you can pull Blaine Bradford out of Louisiana and his older brother is a freshman at LSU, I don't know. You can do anything, right? I also think they're going to pull PJ Dean. Well, not out of Georgia. He's from North Carolina, but his brother went to Georgia and just now going into the NFL. But 4-star, top 300 overall recruit, and he's got the Buckeyes in his top 5. I would put him under Jameer Perez just because I really like Perez, but he was probably the next in line there. You also got 2 IMG guys. Cam Brickle is another big kid in the middle, 6'2", 300 pounds, a big plug. He's a 3-star, 520th ranked kid in the country, but big time offers: Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan, Oklahoma, Penn State, Texas, USC. Everybody wants him. Came to visit Ohio State, really likes Ohio State, has not narrowed his list down yet. I also really liked Tyson Bacon, who we watched his film after he decommitted from Tennessee. The Buckeyes had offered him maybe like 3 days before he did that, and I thought maybe that meant that there was some momentum there. 4-star, top 300 kid, 6'3", 270 from Hoover, Alabama. We'll see if he's interested in coming up north, but I don't know if he's got an official schedule or not yet. I'll find that out and let you know. And then we got Preston Carey. I really like Preston Carey. Preston Carey has an official, Preston Carey, another big dude in the middle. He is the other IMG kid, and he's about 6'4", 280. Really loves the weight room. As a matter of fact, he's up to 300 now. He's up to 300. Loves the weight room. He's a beast for a high school kid now. This kid is he's a pretty good film. Not super twitchy, but man, that's not what I need. I need some big dudes in the middle, and he certainly fits the bill. So he's got Ohio State down there on his top 6 now, and he's certainly in play. Jake Cruel, also from IMG, borderline 5-star kid, 6'3", 225, very polished, wins the MVP at every camp he goes to, does a backflip like Joey Boza, nowhere near as big as Joey, but great with his moves, great with his hands. He's got he's had a great coach, that's for sure. Huge personality. The kid takes videos everywhere he goes and posts them, and big time social media guy. Kind of reminds me of that one walk-on that got kicked off the team. Remember the one walk-on that got kicked off the team? Posts all his stuff on Instagram. It reminds me of that kid, except he's not a dweeb. But Texas, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Colorado, Florida. Got visits with those 5. Ohio State, feeling good about this, man. Feels like they're about top 2 or 3. I would be ecstatic about him. He just missed the cut for my top 12. It was either him or Carter Meadows, and I'm taking Carter Meadows over anybody. But this kid could very well end up a Buckeye, and I'd be thrilled. Then you've got Jackson Ford out of Malvern, Pennsylvania. Feels like Penn State and Michigan are ahead of Ohio State, but the Buckeyes are in there. 6'4", 240, 4-star, top 300 overall. He's a stud. Bucks are in on it. And then there's Keyshawn Elizer. Now, I wasn't thrilled when Ohio State offered this kid because of his size. He's 6'6", and he was like 180 pounds, really, really skinny. And it looked like maybe the type that was going to be a really hard gainer, have a difficult time putting weight on. But he's put on a little bit of weight now. In his film, he's a lot stronger than you would think a kid that skinny would be. Now, he's still a 3-star, but he's on the cusp of becoming a 4-star at about the number 420th player in the country. Really fast, and obviously he needs several years to develop with an Ohio State level strength and conditioning program. But now we're starting to see some other big schools get interested now that Ohio State has. And it'll be interesting to see what this kid does in college, because he is so skinny, but at 6'6" with the length, it could be interesting. And then there's Landon Barnes, obviously. Can't forget Landon Barnes. Has an official scheduled. He's from Duncanville in Texas. Pretty elite kid. And I don't hear much about him, but obviously he's got an official schedule. He's still on the board with the Buckeyes. Kevin Ford, another kid from down there, I don't think there's any momentum with him at all. So yes, with Landon Barnes. I don't think so with Kevin Ford. The Harris twins out of North Carolina, they're off the board. They're off the board for me. I don't think I'm so irritated with them. Not them. I mean, we talk about living up to the expectations. Well, they never set the expectations that Ohio State was the leader. A lot of other people did. And I was a sucker and fell for it. I never talked to them. So I thought that the Buckeyes were really, really in tight with the Harris twins. They had the crystal balls and everything. Certainly doesn't feel that way anymore. When they came out with their initial official visits, Ohio State wasn't on there. And then I guess they said they were going to schedule it recently. I don't know if that got scheduled or yet, but even if they come, I think that they are Auburn or South Carolina. And on the offensive line, we had on our top 12 list, Felix Ojo out of Texas, Darius Gray out of Virginia. Should the Buckeyes miss out on either of them, Tyler Bowen has situated himself in such a way where he's got his hands in cookie jars all over the country. Obviously, that starts with Micah Smith, who has been a longtime Buckeye lean. 4-star, top 170 kid, 6'5.5", 325, Vero Beach in Florida. TJ Alford's teammate. It feels like it may not be as, I don't know, it feels like maybe it's moving the other way, moving the bad way, to be honest. I could have a misread on it, but at one point it felt like a pretty doggone sure thing, and I don't think it feels like a pretty doggone sure thing right now. Then you got Drew Evers out of Flower Mound, Texas, 4-star top 200. Feels very much like Texas A&M and Ohio State here for him. 4-star top 200 guy. I just said that. Very good chance he ends up a Buckeye, to be honest, which is amazing. We're sitting here talking about like top 200 guys and top 100 type guys. Like, it's just like, yeah, he'll probably end up a Buckeye on the offensive line. It's been a long time, man. You got another one, Samuel Rosenberg. Samuel Rosenberg out of Clearwater, Florida, another top 200 kid, 6'5", 285. We watched his film. I really liked him. He's really high on the Bucks and Florida State as well. So Ohio State looks like they're maybe in his top 2, which is amazing. Another top 200 kid. Aaron Thomas. That's a kid who's maybe a top 600 kid, but it's only because he just moved from defense to offense. This is the guy that is, I think he's like 6'7", 300. And when he came up and visited, I talked to him right before he came up and visited. You might remember I told you his family, all from Cleveland and big Buckeye fans. So he was really excited about that. And Texas A&M is pushing really hard for him. I think he probably ends up there, but Ohio State's in it at the top of his list. You still got Duron Parks on the board out there from Hurricane, West Virginia. At one time was a pretty heavy Ohio State lean, and he grew up a Buckeye fan, ended up moving to Florida, and he's in Sarasota. 4-star top 300 guy, 6'5", 350, needs to lose some weight. Things don't seem, I don't feel like Tyler Bowen ever really was too interested in him. This was a fry guy. And while he's still out there and it's a potential, I think it's just another cookie jar that Tyler Bowen's got his hand in. Should he need to go that direction? I don't think it happens, though. Then you got Chance Campbell in Florida, another guy, 6'6", 270. He really likes the tall kids. 3-star, top 500 kid, developmental guy, but got some big offers in Penn State, Ohio State, Florida, Miami, all those schools in good shape. And then you got JB Shabazz. Fry originally offered him a big 320-pounder out of North Carolina. I hate his film. He looks like he doesn't like to play football, and I just can't get behind that at all. So Ohio State, Auburn, North and South Carolina, all in there for him. At running back, Savion Hyder was on the list. I do obviously think, as I've said before, that Ohio State gets Favor Aki, though I'm a little annoyed he's not in the class. Let me tell you why. Like, I root so hard for these Ohio kids to get the offer. They want the offer. They say they want the offer. And then they get the offer, and then all of a sudden it's on. Let me screw around and go visit USC. Let me putz about and make my decision some other time. And I'm going to go see Miami again. It's like, man, what are you doing? Everybody knows you're going to Ohio State. What are you up to here? What kind of games you pulling here? Let's go, Favor. Get in this class, man. Let's party. Derek Cooper definitely on the board. He's a beast. Chaminade Madonna, 5-star, number 2 back in the class. He is an athletic steamroller, big, strong, fast, plays everywhere, loves football, unlike JB Shabazz. Total stud back. Was committed to Georgia, decommitted. Could he be like Jared Curtis and end up recommitting to Georgia? I actually think he could. I actually think that's probably where the smart money is at right now, that he ends up in that class. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of momentum with Ohio State and him. And Jay Lamar at one point was my number 2. You know, I love Jay Lamar. Jay Lamar, not going to happen. Jay Lamar scheduled his officials. Ohio State is not one of them. The reason I'm bringing these guys up, and I don't think they're going to be Buckeyes, is if Derek Cooper commits to Georgia, and I think he probably will, and Jay Lamar commits elsewhere, Savion Hyder looking for a home here, down to Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, and Tennessee. Obviously, Georgia going to take Derek Cooper and Savion Hyder. And if they get the 2 of them, like, I quit. I just quit. But I don't think they will. I don't think Savion Hyder wants to be in a class with Derek Cooper. Maybe he does. Who knows? We just saw Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins play together and choose to do so. So maybe guys are doing that now. I just don't think so. I don't think so. I think if Derek Cooper goes to Georgia, then it's Ohio State, Michigan for Savion Hyder. And if that's the case, at one point I felt like Michigan was the leader here. But I think it's more of a coin flip now. And I can't wait to see, man. I can't wait to see. But, man, you also got the stuff going on with Michigan. You got to think at some point these recruits are starting to take notice here, right? Like at some point, they got to look at this and say, wait a minute. Do I want to go there and potentially get a postseason ban? I don't know, man. Listen to the good life advice, guys. Listen to JUCK on Bucks. The most likely running back, if we're honest, in this class to be paired with Favor Aki is Carson Baker. Carson Baker, out of Langston Hughes, 6 foot 195, 4-star, top 200 kid, top 15 back in the class. Look, I like the kid. He's really fast. He's got a 10.5 100 meter. He's not too shifty. I don't think he creates a ton, but he's really fast. And you watch his highlights. There's not a lot between the tackles. It's a lot of around the end, and he's certainly got a ton of skills. He's just not in the category of Cooper, Savion Hyder, or Jay Lamar to me. Nor is Favor Aki. So landing those two, it would be a really good class, but neither one of them's on Bo Jackson's level to me. We'll put it that way. So there we go. All right, my friends. At quarterback, there's not a whole lot going on. I told you the last two guys, I heard the Bucks were in on Briggs Cherry. Wanted to watch him throw out of the Bulls school, who is committed to Louisville. He's a 3-star, 6'4", 220. Not a ton there, but Cade Kaufman, who I really liked, his film was great. Michigan State commit out of Michigan. He's 6'3", 190, 4-star, top 300 kid. So he's a highly rated kid. And we'll see if they're kicking the tires on either one of these guys. Neither of them have offers, but who knows? All right, that's it. My voice hurts. I've rambled on too many names of 17-year-old kids. What do we got today? We got any of your comments? Let me check. Let me see if you guys got anything interesting. All right, not fantastic today, guys. You're going to have to bring it a little better. I do want to say, it sounds like I might have a good lead from yesterday's show where I brought up a social media manager. Just reading an email here from a digital media something or other that was listening. So that's good. Maybe I'll put more stuff like that out. Hey, I'm looking for to join one of you at the Texas game. If anybody's got an extra ticket to the Texas game, I want to come sit next to you and we'll party. It'll be awesome. Benson 1933 points out something fantastic here. Where is the 12 Most Wanted video? Chris says, I watched it yesterday. Can't find it though. So here's what happened. I did the Jordan Thomas announcement live. And in that, I had some internet issues. And I'm thinking here afterwards, like that finished product is going to look terrible. So I made a new Jordan Thomas announcement video. And then I went in and unlisted that first one so as not to confuse anybody, because then there would be two. Well, this message here led me to go look and make sure I didn't accidentally unlist the 12 Most Wanted. And I sure as heck did. So I've since relisted it. It's back up. If you want to watch the 12 Most Wanted, it's there. And now you can also watch the best of the rest to go along with that. So that's that with that. I appreciate you guys so much. And I will talk to you tomorrow. JUCK on Bucks out.